A little black girl ran to her mother, crying, "They're beating me, Mama." And what that woman did next, let's just say half the town forgot how to breathe. It happened right under a lazy evening sun, that kind of gold light that makes everything look calm until it isn't. Two officers came storming across the parking lot, boots slamming, batons raised, yelling orders like they owned the air itself. And this tiny girl in a yellow dress was running for her life. Her mama froze for one heartbeat, then dropped the grocery bag like it was nothing. Apples went rolling across the pavement, and she charged forward. You could feel it, the moment a mother's fear turns into fire. Because when your child screams your name like that, logic disappears and instinct takes the wheel. People stopped mid stride, whispering, filming, pretending they weren't terrified of what they were about to witness. But that woman didn't care who was watching. She hit the ground running, shouting, "I'm here, baby! Mama's here!" The girl tripped, scraped her knees, still kept running because she could see her mama's arms stretched wide like a promise that nothing bad would ever touch her again. And when they finally collided, the sound wasn't just a hug, it was a vow. The whole street went quiet. Her hands shook as she held her child, but her eyes, cold, focused, dangerous. Because in that instant, she wasn't just a mother anymore. She was a warning. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe to Voices Unchained, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The mother held her daughter tight, heart hammering like a drum in her chest. But as the girl's sobs slowed, the world started moving again, and the silence that followed, it was loud enough to hurt. People were watching. Some whispered, some recorded, and then there were the officers, still standing there, chests puffed, acting like they were the ones wronged. One of them took a step forward, hand resting on his belt, eyes full of that look, the kind that said, "How dare you not be afraid of us?" The mother didn't flinch. Not this time. She looked right back at them, calm, steady, fire in her voice as she said, "You've done enough. My child is coming home with me." You could almost taste the tension in the air, like electricity and dust. Someone in the crowd muttered, "She better be careful." But nobody moved. Everyone knew they were watching more than a scene. They were watching a line being drawn. The taller officer opened his mouth to argue, but stopped when he realized every phone in that parking lot was pointed at him. His face tightened. His partner mumbled something under his breath, low and bitter, but didn't move either. The woman straightened her shoulders. The setting sun hit her face, and she looked unshakable. For the first time, it wasn't her fear filling the space, it was their discomfort. Can you believe it? Three grown men, suddenly unsure what to do because a mother refused to bow her head. She whispered to her daughter, "You're safe now. Mama's got you." And she meant it like a promise carved in stone. But as she walked away, she could still feel their stares burning into her back, stares that said this wasn't over. And deep down, she knew it wasn't. That's when the real story started. Morning came, but it didn't feel new. The woman sat beside her daughter on the couch, eyes red, mind still replaying every second from yesterday. The scream, the boots, the looks, it all looped like a film she couldn't turn off. When the child stirred, she grabbed her mother's sleeve, even in her sleep, Kat, the way scared kids do when they're not sure the nightmare is over. And that sight, that was it. Fear flipped into resolve. She got up, washed her hands, tied her hair back, and told herself, they scared the wrong child this time. The girl woke up, blinking through the sunlight. "Mama, are you mad at me?" she whispered. Her voice broke something inside the woman. She knelt, held the girl close, and said, "Never. You were brave. You did nothing wrong." But then the little one whispered the words that changed everything. "I thought they were going to take me away." Right there, the woman's breath caught. The thought of her child believing that, of her even knowing to fear that, lit a fire no apology could ever cool. After breakfast, the woman put on her best coat, the one she saved for church and interviews, not because she wanted to look fancy, but because she knew the world listened more when you looked respectable. The irony wasn't lost on her. "Come on, baby," she said. "We're going to talk to someone." They walked through the morning chill, past the same corners and faces that had watched and said nothing. Some neighbors nodded, some avoided her eyes. Funny how silence gets loud when truth walks by. At the community center, the receptionist smiled politely, then hesitated when she said she wanted to report something. You could see it, the quick scan, the cautious tone, the unspoken "here we go again." But the mother didn't waver. "I need to understand my rights," she said clearly. Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. And that's when you could tell she wasn't here for sympathy. She was here for accountability. Each word she spoke built a wall between her and that fear. She wasn't just telling a story, she was testifying. Every sentence landed like a brick, solid and deliberate. The more she spoke, the more her shoulders lifted. And by the time she finished, even the woman behind the desk looked different. Less detached, more human. Because sometimes courage doesn't roar. Sometimes it walks into a building quietly and refuses to sit down. Days passed, and the air in their little apartment felt lighter, like even the walls had started to exhale. The mother still walked her daughter to school every morning, fingers intertwined, her eyes scanning every street corner. Not in fear anymore, but in quiet command. People noticed. The same neighbors who once whispered now nodded with respect. The same officers who strutted past her street now slowed their patrol cars, suddenly polite, suddenly aware. Funny how power shifts when truth stops hiding. At the community office, her report hadn't vanished into a drawer. It had sparked questions, real ones. Supervisors called meetings. The mayor's assistant showed up in that neighborhood for the first time in years, and somebody's badge didn't shine so bright anymore. One afternoon, the woman stood on her porch, the same spot where she'd once carried her crying daughter inside. Now the child was laughing, really laughing, chasing a butterfly across the yard, sunlight bouncing off her yellow dress. The mother smiled, not the tired kind, the knowing kind, the kind that says, "We made it through." A neighbor leaned over the fence, shaking his head. "You really changed things, you know that?" She laughed softly. "I didn't change anything. I just stopped letting fear speak for me." And when the little girl ran up and hugged her waist, whispering, "You saved me, Mama," the woman whispered back, "You saved me first." Because that's the truth nobody wants to admit. Sometimes the cry for help wakes up the hero inside us. As the sun dipped behind the rooftops, she looked out across her street, still cracked, still imperfect, but hers. And she knew that no matter what came next, she and her daughter would never face it bowed or silent again. Voice steady, eyes forward. That's how freedom starts. Before you scroll away, drop a heart in the comments if you felt that, and subscribe to Voices Unchained, because every day, another story like this is waiting to be heard.